Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. You know my next guest from the show Boardwalk Empire and such movies as Midnight Special and Stealing Cars, but currently can be seen on House of Cards on Netflix, and of course the brand new show Girlfriend Experience on STARZ. Please say hello to Paul Sparks. Paul, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for fitting us in, and seems you have a very busy schedule, juggling multiple projects and TV shows here.
I know, it's all kind of converged in this one sort of glorious, what's the word? Explosion.
Career.
Yes. Yeah, it's good. It's a good time to be me.
I mean, you're running between project to project. How do you not forget which character you're playing on which day?
You know, the great thing about doing film and television is you lay these like little bombs or seeds, you know, you like cover them up in the ground,
right,
and you leave them, and then you walk away, and like a year later, they're asking you questions about them. And so I haven't had to flip between character very often, which is a nice thing for me. I'm sort of a one at a time guy.
Give me one job, let me do it, then I'll do the next job.
Yeah, and when I'm done, yeah.
Very simple, laid back way of approaching everything.
Right, it's a very binary kind of existence that I live.
So I'm guessing you're not a big multitasker.
You know, my wife would say that of the two of us that I am the multitasker.
Really?
But I don't know how successfully I multitask.
Okay.
I think it's possible that I fail. I think I'm multitask. I have a lot of things going on at the same time, but I don't know how successful
Can you
I am.
work your phone?
A little bit.
Okay, then you can multitask pretty easily. Yeah. If you can get YouTube to play that music video while you switch over to check your email and not have it turn off,
right?
Yeah, then you're ahead of the game.
Oh, see.
I don't think I know anybody who hasn't seen Boardwalk Empire.
Oh, yeah.
And this was not just an event. This was not just a television series that you sat down, you watched, and talked about with people the next day at office or wherever where they're all talking about. This was also a family event because my parents loved this show. I love this show.
Yeah.
And then either after it aired or the next day, my dad would call, "Did you see what happened there?" This is one of those shows that brought a lot of people together because of, I guess, of the story and the time period.
Yeah,
people are fascinated with that.
It's hard to put your finger on what exactly it is about that show. We loved making it. We were like a family. For me, it was sort of my first big, my first big show really that I was ever on, that I had anything to do for a long time. And I became very close with those people. I love those people, but they spared no expense. I mean, that thing was epic.
Locations, the sets, the costumes, just the ensemble of the cast.
Right.
Yeah, everything was open up the checkbook and just make it happen.
Just make it happen. And I was so fortunate because I was just kind of this struggling theater actor in the city who'd made a couple of independent films, you know, and maybe done a couple of guest spots on the...
Well, you did Brotherhood.
I did do Brotherhood.
Did a few episodes in Brotherhood.
Yep, and I was on all the Law and Orders.
Right.
Did those guys.
That seems like everybody has that on their resume.
And then you know, I was kind of doing downtown theater, and I just somehow, Ellen Lewis, the casting director, just somehow guided me, and suddenly I was sitting in front of Terry Winter and Martin Scorsese and giggling like in that giggle that Mickey Doyle does.
Well,
and
it wouldn't be an interview to talk about that without at least bringing up the laughs at some point. Do people still ask you to do it if they meet you?
They do. It's one of those lovely things that follows me around wherever I go.
If you don't know the show, he plays Mickey Doyle, and Mickey had a very signature laugh that when he was trying to be funny and saying bad jokes, when he was nervous and things got very serious, like there was just different degrees of that giggle, that laugh.
Right.
Almost Joker-like.
Yeah, and it was almost, when you really look at it, it seems almost like kind of a Tourette's sort of thing that he couldn't stop it if he wanted to.
Right. Nobody wanted you to.
But I'm not sure that he wanted. You know, there was a big discussion in the beginning when I was doing that. I remember it was about episode 4, and all of us were convinced that we were going to be fired, like because this job was just too great and too awesome, and it was, what were we doing there? And I can remember I was on set, and the director's this guy, Jeremy Podesta, was Canadian guy. He's awesome, and he always gets nominated for all sorts of awards. He was directing the episode, and he sort of came over to me and he said, "We're going to try it again this time, and this time we're not going to do, there's going to be no laughing. There's just no, I know you've got this thing, there's this laugh, that you do it and it's funny or whatever, but we're just not going to,
Right.
He did not handle me gently. So was
there chest pointing happening?
No, not chest pointing. It was more dismissive.
Okay.
And so I thought, oh no. I mean, I don't know. And so I did it for a few times and without the laugh. And I think it was pretty bad, actually. It just wasn't anything.
It fell flat.
Yeah. And he came back at it and he was like, oh, okay, go ahead, do the laugh. There's like this big argument happening about whether or not this laugh is going to be okay. Between the producers, like the people who really matter, they're having a discussion right now.
People getting shot, the guy with half a face, all this stuff. Some of the language of the times, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going through standards and practices. It's that laugh.
We're not sure about this laugh. We're not totally sure.
You're the guy halting production.
Yeah. But ultimately, they just couldn't stop it. It was like inertia.
It punctuates everything. And then it got to the point where it didn't lose the quality of what it was. People were expecting it, but not like, oh, here it comes, the punchline, the one-line wonder kind of thing.
Right.
They were waiting for the laugh to know that everything was okay or that was really a cool moment.
Yeah. Well, you can't just trot that laugh out any time. You have to really...
Did you have to go into your room and practice it? Did you feel really stupid trying to practice it
No,
by yourself?
I never practiced it. I'm telling you, that is the laugh when I read the script and I was like, yeah. I did talk with Scorsese a little bit on the very first time when we shot, and he came over and he said, oh, he goes, yeah, I like it. It's good. It's good. He's nervous. He's got lots of, that's what makes him laugh. He goes, go ahead and do it.
Feel out the character.
Go ahead and find it. But I don't have that sort of, like, I imagine Jim Carrey, like, looks in the mirror and, like, was practicing his eyebrows going up and down and making things,
contorting his neck and all that,
doing all that kind of crazy stuff. I can't do any of that thing. I can't do any of it. I can't do any of those things. I can't even burp on cue.
When that took off, were you like, oh my God, I have my thing?
Yeah.
I am going to stand out now.
I thought, finally. No, I don't know. It's all a surprise. I mean, I think when I initially thought that I wasn't sure how people would react to it.
Right.
And people have been very kind about it. It's great. People still ask me to do it. I try, but I can't really do it without the...
It's so weird if somebody comes over and just like, could you
do
just
it?
laugh as my voicemail or ringtone?
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least you got something out of there.
Yeah.
That you'll forever be remembered if, when they look at the history of HBO or, TV from that time, your thing will always be in the montage of one of those memorable characters that nobody will ever forget.
Yeah, there's that ass.
Right.
There's that ass.
Or there's
again.
that ass, depending which scene they show.
Oh, yeah.
Also wanted to talk real quick about Midnight Special before we get into your current projects here. You got to work with Michael Shannon again.
Yeah.
And Joel Edgerton.
Yeah.
We just spoke to him not too long ago for his movie
great.
Jane Got a Gun. Amazing guy.
Yeah. Jeff Nichols, the guy who made it, I did Mud with him. I've known about him forever because Mike Shannon's a good friend of mine, and I remember when he made his first film, which was called Shotgun Stories, and I went and saw it at Tribeca, and it was awesome. He said, you got to meet this guy. This guy's great. And this script came around, and I love this movie. I saw this movie. I'm so happy for them. I feel like there hasn't been a movie about the parental relationship to your child, about how your child is sort of going off into where they need to go that you can't go.
Right.
As a father, I'm so moved by it. It's such a beautiful script. Mike is amazing and so understated and deep. And Joel, I didn't know Joel before, but I hung out with that guy in New Orleans. He's a great guy.
Yeah. He's amazing. I talked to him just about shooting guns for the first time because I haven't, but he was talking about the difference between shooting guns and then learning to shoot movie guns.
Yeah.
Like it's totally different than from what the correct way is that
Oh, really?
and the special powder for the bullets for television, so you're not really killing somebody, and the kicks that you get and all that stuff. Great dude. But being good friends with Michael Shannon, you comic book fan at all? Superhero stuff?
I'm not. My son is very into them, but when I was growing up, we didn't collect things.
No.
So I never. I mean, I like them. I go and see the movies, when they come out and stuff. But I don't know a lot about it.
No interest in when Michael was doing Man of Steel.
I saw it.
Oh, you
yes,
went,
I
I
did.
Get to go on set or anything like that?
I never went on set, although I did hear stories about some of the stuff that went on, which was pretty interesting. Because I think even for Mike, who's a bit of an enigma as a human being,
right?
And very, very hard to rattle. I think he was a little like, this is a very big movie.
Very big movie.
This is
It was launching a multi-franchise debut there for DC.
But yeah, I love all that stuff. I think it's so interesting. This sort of superhero culture that we live in, how they've changed. Like I'm a Superman guy, because of Superman,
right?
And there's a whole generation of people who are Batman people. I think it's
what's hot at the time.
Yeah, it's interesting.
All right. Well, I just was wondering if you got a chance to go in there because, like you said, Michael is a chameleon because everybody knew him as being Nelson.
Yeah.
So famously from Boardwalk Empire. But now, I mean, when he was at Comic-Con and everything, he's Zod.
Yeah.
So every character that he puts, like, it looks like it's effortless with him.
Well, just wait.
He becomes that person.
Just wait, because I saw a movie that he did that's at Tribeca right now called Elvis and Nixon.
We just spoke with Johnny Knoxville.
Holy smokes!
We saw.
It's hilarious.
Saw the first half of it.
It's really interesting.
It's amazing to make a film out of one photo with a story that nobody knew until 2 years after the event, and that becomes now its own feature film just the day they took that photo.
Yeah. It's pretty delicious to watch. Those guys are fun.
Well, let's talk about some more of the stuff that you're currently doing.
Yeah.
Of course, House of Cards on Netflix.
Yes.
And that
with
show
Kevin Spacey,
with Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright. Amazing show, and just keeps getting better as each season goes on. Just when you think when Frank couldn't get more dark, more messed up, more evil, he finds a way, and he does it with that smile on his face, like a true sociopath will go through everybody and anybody to get what he wants.
Right. I love that show, and I think it's so great because I was a fan of the show before I went on it, and so it was a little out of body experience when I was actually like in scenes with them, because I was like, oh look, there's
how intimidating.
I was like, that's Kevin Spacey, and he is Frank Underwood, and he's talking to me. That's strange but
when you're first in a room, is it like does he have the presence that comes with him? Like he's in the room even though you haven't talked to him or he hasn't talked to you?
I mean, Kevin he's a mercurial, very gregarious, almost vaudevillian creature. He's hilarious.
Does a lot of voices.
Does a million. He's a mimic, but he's I mean, when he's in the room, heck yeah. Both of them are like that. I mean, Robin walks in and she can have on like a hat pulled down and sunglasses on. You can't even see her, and she's in the room.
You just feel it.
Yeah, you feel it. Yeah, those guys are big time.
Doing the scene, go back to that. You're freaking out. Like you're having an out of body. Like I am watching myself do a scene with Kevin Spacey.
Right.
Then when you get to see the finished product, do you go, I know what I was thinking during that scene?
No, because
you forget it that fast.
No, because most of the time I do not have because I have emotional problems. I don't watch myself.
Oh, you don't see the finished product?
I mean, sometimes I do. Sometimes I need a little time. I have to
separate.
I have to rest and get a massage and spend a few years, and then I can go back in and go, it's easier to watch then. Yeah.
Now, we know Kevin's a big joker, but doing all that stuff. Anybody else on the set too? Like if you just did a really tense, dramatic scene, somebody does something that breaks the tension and gets everybody riled up in a good way? Yeah,
the guy, Derek Cecil, he's really funny. He's always cracking jokes. He plays Seth, I don't even know what his job is on the show. I'm so Thomas Yates when it comes to that. I don't know anything about politics. I don't know what anybody's talking about. But no, he's hilarious. Who else is funny? Michael, who plays the Stamper, who never says anything, is just mean all the time.
Yeah.
He's one of the nicest human beings on the face of the earth. He could not be nicer in life, which is like hilarious because he may be the scariest person on the show.
Really?
At times. Yeah. No, there's a lot of laughing on that show. There's a lot.
That's great because there's a lot of heartache and just tons of dramatic nonsense that doesn't need to exist in any, not just politics, but in anybody's life.
Right. Yeah, and they just got it in spades over there.
And they got rid of the rib shack.
In the rib shack.
That was one of my favorite things when he just would wander off and have some self-reflecting and just go get a slab of ribs that was served to you in newspaper.
Yeah, but Freddie got him. Didn't he get him this season? I believe I read that he
Well,
did.
if you haven't seen it, it's available on Netflix. And try to figure out what is Paul talking about there.
Yeah.
That's on Netflix, of course. But the thing that really has also been very cool was recently, I think in the last 2 weeks, I was made aware of the girlfriend experience. And I saw the ads on other channels, like during any of the E programming. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow. And at first I thought it was going to be a little bit like the old show Secret Diary of a Call Girl.
Right.
I remember that on Showtime.
I don't
Billy
remember it,
Piper.
but I have heard it referenced, and so yeah.
But then you go and you watch it. I have only seen the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
Right. First 2 episodes. It's nothing like that at all. And let me tell you, that 50 Shades of Grey movie, which was awful, this is what the story should have been.
Right.
Because this is, I'll say, there's a lot of seduction going on in there, especially with Christine, your legal assistant.
She's like my intern.
Okay, an intern there.
Mm-hmm.
And you sense the relationship brewing, flirting, older man, younger girl, and she decides that, hey, this could be my secret life.
Right.
It's the anti-comic book hero kind of thing, her secret identity.
Well, you know, it's funny because Soderbergh sort of refers to her as like a superhero that is learning about her powers, like as it goes on, which I think is somewhat true. You know, when I read this script, and they had the whole thing written before we started, they had all 13 episodes.
Which is great, because then you know that it's not going to like, oh, this isn't working, and they knee-jerk react to something.
Yeah. And so it's kind of remarkable to watch this character and Riley Keough, who's Elvis's granddaughter, which is kind of trippy to think about. She plays this very unapologetic young woman who likes sex and likes money and likes being powerful, and takes this, what is traditionally a very sort of male kind of way. I think it's interesting that a lot of people have described her as almost sociopathic, but really, to me, it's just unapologetic. She is
confident.
Yeah, man. She's so confident. And then the way they shoot it, Soderbergh is awesome. He went to STARZ and said, "How much money do you give me?" I mean, I'm paraphrasing, of course, how it probably all went down, but my impression is that he sort of went to STARZ and said, "How much money will you give me to stay out of it? To let us really do what we want to do." And they quote him a number, and he got Amy Simons and Lodge Kerrigan, who are these like independent filmmakers who'd never made television before, who, never had any money before to make movies. And he brought them in and he said, "You two, this man and this woman, are going to write this story about this girl, and you're going to direct it." I mean, I think they flipped the coin. Like, she directed this one, he directed that one. And we shot Soderbergh style, which is no lights. It's all like practicals and the sun.
Realistic.
It's very realistic, but it's all on location. I mean, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's very well done.
It's beautiful looking, but there's no trailers. There's no video village. There's none of that sort of the pomp of like a set. It's very like small and closed and efficient. And, these two, Amy and Lodge, they had an idea about what they wanted to do, and they did it. And I think that it makes for a very interesting story. It's very provocative, this genre, sort of erotica, as a genre is provocative. Right. And they subvert that and they make it about, no, this is about sort of like transactional relationships. And I'm pretty proud of it.
I do want to point out that I like the feel of the show where it doesn't come off as, remember how USA used to have those up all night segments on Saturday nights and Friday nights where they would show like silk stockings and shows that were like this, but you went into the mindset that, there's dramatic music, it's going to be sappy, while it's those slow shots of a girl pulling up a garter, and that's about as sexy as it gets. Yeah. But you guys don't have that feel at all. Like you're buying into everything. Like, I'm not coming out of this. There's nothing stupid going on here. This really could happen. There is no sort of like gauze over the lens. This is a very clear. In fact, we shot in Toronto, which is like the city of glass, and everything is glass, and you can see through everything. And so it's very interesting how
how visible it all is. This world that we think of is like a very covered up, very private thing that's happening in a dark closet somewhere. It's happening in all these rooms with like huge windows that are wide open to the world. It's cool.
Oh, that real estate building across the way, they all have their telescopes out. I'm like, there's something going on over there, not realizing it's a TV show.
That's right.
That show is called The Girlfriend Experience. There's 13 episodes for that. Sundays, 8 p.m. on STARZ. You play, it's Tellis, right?
David Tellis.
David Tellis there. Paul Sparks, you don't have social media? You don't use Twitter?
You know, I have an Apple Watch. I can tell you what the weather is.
Okay. Well, he's not on social media, but if you see him in the street, send him some love and say, hey, I like everything that you do.
Thanks,
Paul,
man.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. Otherwise, we could have kept going.
We can just go all day.
Not according to her. She's getting really upset.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much,
Thanks
Paul. I appreciate it. House of Cards on Netflix. Girlfriend Experience on STARZ, Sundays, 8 p.m. Talk to you next time you're in New York.
Brad, thanks, man.